Welcome back, Mongo Fix. This Mongo philosophy. Rules that Mongo live by. Way of life for Mongo. Well, our world sure is a goofy one. Election time is coming. And Mongo gotta say, the lies getting kind of crazy. If anything, our world good for a lot of great entertainment. Mongo highly recommends to everybody, get rid of your television, at least like the television channels, the news. Keep your TV, watch DVDs and whatnot. Do not watch the news. Mongo has been without television and radio for close to 10 years now. As you probably know, the news is just filled with lies. The media doesn't really report the news anymore. The media just fabricates the news. Every day they'll make up new stories, and then their goal is to get more ratings. So what they do is try to make everything as dramatic and terrible as possible to put as much fear as they can into the viewer. Because if they can put fear into the viewer, then in essence that viewer will continue to watch. And if the viewer continues to watch, then the news will continue to get more and more money, because that's how the news makes money. That's how TV makes money. The more people who watch, the more money they make. Their goal is to get you hooked. The best thing you can do is get rid of it. Dump it, break up with it, whatever you can. It's funny, Mongo's got a couple buddies who call him. Mongo, we know you're up to date on the news, but this is what's going on now. And Mongo always says the same thing. That's great. And Mongo doesn't care. But Mongo's wifey likes the YouTubes and the Netflix. Mongo hears all sorts of ads about the Kamalama Ding Dong. Her ads are nothing but lies. Now, Mongo's not very into politics. If you can't tell, Mongo's really never done much political talk. Because at the end of the day, Mongo doesn't care. Mongo doesn't care if you a Democrat or Republican. Doesn't really care which side you on. Really, there is no sides. Let's get that straight. There is no sides. We all human. At least here, we all American. We all want the same stuff. At the end of the day, we just get hung up on goofy details. And we shouldn't let those goofy details bother us as people that much. Mostly because there's always more than one side to the story. Second of all, 9 billion some odd people in the world, which means there's 9 billion some odd different views, and there's 9 billion different ways to live life. So why are we letting everything get hung up on ourselves? Our way is our way, and it's not the way for everyone else. No one else is going to live that way. No one else is going to think that way. The best thing you can do for yourself and humanity is stop worrying about your neighbor. Most people spend way too much time obsessing about what their neighbor's doing and not about what they're doing. If you're worried about your neighbor, you are obviously distracted from your own life. And you're probably missing out on your own life. So you gotta always ask yourself some pretty basic questions when you're watching these political ads. It's an ad. It's there to try to scare you, especially this year. Every ad is trying to scare you. Like next year's gonna be worse if we don't do this, or next year's gonna be worse if we don't do that. Or if this person gets in, it's gonna be worse, and we can save, and we can help, and we can make it better. Well, there's a few things everybody needs to understand, and Mongo thinks everybody forgets about this. The most important thing is the government has no money. Ever. No governments have money. Government was started a long, long time ago. And the only reason governments are around to control people. Doesn't matter if it's a king or queen, a hierarchy, a democratic government, a socialist government, a fascist government. All governments were designed to control people, to control the population. That is the only purpose. So you may wonder, well, okay, Mongo, if the government doesn't have money, then how does the government buy stuff? through people's money. The government takes money from the people, and that's how the government pays for stuff. Not all of this taking is a bad thing. If you want your trash taken care of, you pay some sort of company. You know, the big ones are like Waste Management, GFL, Republic. Those are waste management companies. Most of them all government funded. All that money comes from the taxes that you people pay. People go to work at a job, they get money, and to pay for things like roads, trash, water, electricity, government funding things, parks, all the national parks, state parks, local parks, stop signs, stop lights, infrastructure, all that type of stuff is funded via the money that you give the government. So you make money, the government takes your money for taxes, and that goes into a big giant fund every year. And then the government disperses that money to the different programs. Now, for some reason, the United States spends most of your tax money, the money you people make, the U.S. government spends most of it on defense. And they do that because the U.S. government feels that we are the most hated nation, and therefore we have to protect ourselves from everybody. Kind of a weird way to look at it. But at the end of the day, if you spend that much money on defense, you must be worried about the other nations. Why are you so worried about the other nations? The only reason you would be worried is if you felt hated or threatened or people would want to attack you. Because if you don't feel that, then you have no need to spend that much money on defense or war. Then there's the health services stuff, right? A lot of times people need health, medication, doctors, whatever. The government has a ton of money going into that. So you have to think as the people, is your money being well spent? Mongo brings this up because Mongo talks to a lot of people, and they always say, well, we'll get a grant from the government, and it's no big deal. We'll get that paid for. Or, well, there's this free thing the government's offering, and you should do it because it's free. And the government's just going to give us some free money, so that's pretty awesome. We should take that because it's free money. There is no free money. The government doesn't have any money. The government has taxpayer money. So if you think you're getting free money from the government, you're not. You're getting money that you spent to the government, and you're getting money from your neighbor. It was really funny because a couple years ago, Mongo kept hearing about these free DIVOC tests. And everyone was like, well, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. Oh, it costs. There's no such thing as free anything. First off, that quote-unquote free DIVOC test was funded by the government. And the government doesn't have any money, which means it was funded by taxpayers. So it was funded by you and me and everyone else who has a job and pays taxes. That's where the money came from. It was not free. So when you wondered why your taxes went up, it was because the government was giving away free tests to anybody who wanted them. People were just taking them like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. But at the end of the day, you were stealing money from the people, from your neighbors. Now, some of you might not like your neighbors and might think, hey, that's fine. But think about all your friends. You were stealing money from them to get your free test. And that's how any government-funded thing goes. If it's a quote-unquote free thing from the government, then that means your neighbors, your friends, and yourself has paid for it. Because there is no free money, there's no free things from the government. It's all taxpayer money. That is the most important thing you can understand. And this is why there's so many differences when it comes to these political agendas right now. And this is why there's so much division in the country. Because there's a lot of different programs that different people think are good things. And they probably are at face value. But you have to look deeper than face value. Most of the time, it's not about whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. Take any item you pick and think, is that item a good thing or a bad thing? It may be a great thing. Okay, but that's only step one. Step two, how is that good thing funded? Is it through your taxes or is it through different means? This is why people get so upset about corporations, because corporations are going to sell you a product, right? You're paying for a product that they make, but at that same time, the corporation is also going to get a tax cut or break from the government, which, as we know now, is not from the government, that's from the people. You're paying for that tax break, whatever it may be, which means you are paying for products twice. That is criminal in nature, 100%. There's no reason that any customer should have to pay for a product twice. So if the government's going to give tax breaks to these corporations, and the corporation's going to make you pay for a product, you're paying twice for one thing. And that is unacceptable. The other hilarious thing Mongo finds is when these politicians promise tax cuts. They can't promise that. Kamala Ding Dong, her big thing right now is she's going to give 100 million American families tax cuts for the working class, right? That's a lie all day long. She can't promise that. She can't do that. The other great thing is, if you look at your ballot this year, Mongo's willing to bet there's probably a proposal or a millage for roads or schools. So roads and schools are government funded. If there's a millage vote, that means they're looking for more money. Now that millage comes right out of your taxes. That's what a millage means. They're going to increase the taxes or keep it the same, whatever your local area might be. Now, Mongo hates to break it to you, but the school system has been messed up for a super long time. Mongo refuses to vote to increase or renew any millage ever. Now, why would Mongo do this? Mongo believes that the government has made nothing but terrible choices for a really long time. And so, by voting to renew or increase these millages, Mongo believes you are promoting bad behavior. The government is not doing their job of fixing roads properly or doing school for children properly. So therefore, Mongo refuses to approve or vote yes on millage increases or new millages. Now, once the government starts making proper choices, then yes, Mongo is all for those millages. Because Mongo understands in order to have certain things like roads and good quality schools, you have to pay for it in your taxes. But Mongo does not appreciate or like poor decision making. And that's what the government does a lot of. So until the decision making improves, Mongo will never vote to increase those. And Mongo suggests you do the same, but Mongo's not going to get mad if you don't. Because Mongo knows you are you, and you are different. You have different thoughts, different beliefs, different systems. And so Mongo knows there's no reason to get upset if you vote the other way. Mongo is not into rewarding poor behavior. If she's going to promise all these tax cuts, then how come on the ballot there are new taxes to approve? Hate to break it to you, but your taxes are going to go up because there's new things on the ballot. And even if she does cut them, how much is she going to cut? Is she going to just remove those, in essence, to where it's the same as this current year? Or is she just going to drop them a little bit? Which means, hate to break it to you, you're going to pay more this year in taxes anyway. The biggest issue Mongo has with Kamala Ding Dong is that she has been in office for the last 4 years. So in essence, you could say she has been the government. She has been the second most powerful person in the world, probably the most powerful woman in the world, who knows. But either way, she has been there for the last 4 years. Don't you think if she wanted to do any of these things she was talking about doing, she would have done already? Because she's been in a position to do them for the last 4 years. And she has not done them. So Mongo, hate to break it to you, but chances are she's lying to you because she's not going to do them. Because she would have done them, but she didn't do them. Just a little forewarning to all you folks Now, someone else was telling Mongo recently that they're gonna make votes public, which Mongo thinks is interesting. First off, when did we vote for that? Mongo doesn't remember voting for that ever. But also, voting's always supposed to have been secret. And somehow they're gonna say, well, you know, we don't say who you voted for. We just know, and we're gonna post and tell everybody else in the world whether or not you voted. And this is one of the reasons Mongo hates this current government crap, is because Mongo doesn't remember voting for that. And yes, we have senators and, you know, representatives, and they're supposed to make votes for us. Obviously, they're not doing stuff for the people's best interest. So Mongo actually votes for no confidence in the government. You vote how you like. Mongo votes how Mongo likes. And Mongo is not happy with this government. It's good to vote. It's one of your ways of having a voice. Just be aware, every time you buy a product and you spend your money, whether it's in taxes or at companies, you're voting with your dollar. Never forget that. And never forget the government has no money. The government has your money. What do you want the government doing with your money? That's what matters. It's your money they're using. Are they spending it wisely or unwisely? Sorry about it being so long-winded. Mongo just had to get a bunch of stuff off his chest. Be sure not to fall for the ads. Be sure not to fall for the lies. There's a lot of them out there. You have to be smarter than them. Make sure you realize they try to prey on your emotions. They try to prey on your fear of the unknown, and they try to prey on your attachments. Anytime they try to use these tactics on you, it lets you know that there's something fishy going on. They're most likely lying, and something is not true. Because if they were honest, they wouldn't have to use fear tactics to convince you. And if they have to use fear tactics, it's not a good thing. Well, if you take money from the government, that means you take money from your friends, your neighbors, your family, and yourself. One other thing to just be aware of. You know, there's a lot of talk about race and sex. Just so you know, if a company asks you about how you identify your sex, race, or anything else, they are obviously sexist and or racist. They want to know what your race is. They're obviously racist because they're telling you it's important. If they're asking you for your sexual identity, they're sexist. Obviously, because they're telling you this is important to us. Even though they say, you know, this is just for general marketing, research, yada yada. Yeah, they want to know if you're a guy, a girl, or whatever else, and they want to know if you're white, black, Irish, Asian, Cuban, whatever. Because to them, it's important.